We are back to asking the age-old question if the Flames will ever turn a corner.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I'm your host, Jess, and thank you so much for joining me. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Today, we're going to talk about the slippery slope that the Flames are on and are just launching themselves down because boy, oh boy, was it a lackluster performance on Saturday. And of course, we are going to touch on some good news regarding Jacob Markstrom's return, as well as Oliver Kylington's next step, and an update on Dillon Dube. Before we dive into all that, make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you're getting your podcasts, and of course on YouTube as well. We are here for you. I appreciate you tuning in. I don't think I've ever seen Noah Hanifin play a worse game than I did on Saturday. That was really hard to watch. He was flopping on the ice, and not like a LeBron trying to sell a penalty type of flop, but slipping and sliding. And I get it, ice is slippery. I'm one of the least coordinated people on this planet, but you're a professional athlete. What did a ghost push you? What is going on? I know that defense is a harder metric to measure, but based on what I was seeing, Noah Hanifin did not have a good game. And that's not the only defender that had a tough game. The blue line really struggled. The third pairing they're forgettable. They don't do anything that makes me say, wow, that was a game-changing move. The only game-changing move we ever saw from the third pairing with Nikita Zadorov was his 18 high-sticking penalties a game. But at least we don't have that anymore, right? Rasmus Andersson had a very tough game as well. I know that plus-minus is like a controversial stat to measure your, ability with, but for the sake of defense, we have to talk about it because Rasmus Andersson finished the game the -2, and it just was not a good game for him. This season has been a little tough for him, I would say. I think that there's constant changes going on in the locker room. Thankfully, Ryan Huska is someone that he has worked with his entire career and kind of got his butt into shape when he was coming up through the AHL. So he's familiar, and they've worked together before. That sense of familiarity it's good. We've talked about this a bunch, especially during the off season. It's just been an odd season for him. He hasn't had the confidence when it comes to shooting either, and he used to be like the standout player on the Flames power play, and we're not seeing that this year. I feel like Mackenzie Weegar has kind of stepped up in that sense, and we've seen it with his own scoring and point totals. The one thing that killed me, and I think really took the Flames' foot off of the gas, was that super weird deflection off of Rasmus Andersson that ended up going over Vladar's shoulder for the second goal. It was Sam Gagne's goal. And I understand you have to be in position to play the position, because had that goal gone in and Rasmus Andersson not been there, we would be having a very different conversation. That goal was stoppable. Rasmus Andersson not been directly there. And it reminded me so much of last season when Chris Tanev would be in front of the net and a puck would graze him and it just got behind the goalie. There was no explanation for it, and it felt like there were 2 or 3 of those goals a week. So I hope that bug has not bitten Rasmus Andersson, because the Flames can't really afford that. And they really owe Dan Vladar a big one. That game could have been 5-1. He had some highlight reel saves that were incredible. I mean, he held McDavid pointless that game. So any game where an opponent can do that, that's fantastic. I will give you all the credit in the world. But that game could have been 5, 6, 7-1 had Vladar just kind of not play as well as he did. And it's nice to see that he's gaining that confidence because he has been seeing more consistent goal time thanks to Jacob Markstrom being injured. But like, at what cost are we doing this? It is very difficult, but it was great to see. And I hope everyone is showing up to his doorstep with a nice steak and a bottle of the most expensive red wine you can find in Calgary and an apology card. One thing that stood out to me post game was the quotes from two non-captains, the only two players on the team that recorded points last night, and that was, of course, Mackenzie Weegar and Blake Coleman. You remember in the second period, the Flames scored, and it was a gorgeous 3-on-1 with Mangiapane, Coleman, and Weegar. Coleman set up Weegar, scored. Delightful. It was great, and it felt like energy had been injected into this lineup for the first time that entire game. One thing that was evident was this lack of urgency. Mackenzie Weegar had this to say: I thought we got outcompeted. Awareness was limited. There wasn't much urgency in that first period. Vladar stood on his head. Battle of Alberta wasn't much of a battle tonight from us. It's a big game, Battle of Alberta. I thought we were going to come out a little harder than that, throw some hits, mix it up, including myself in that. I thought there would have been a little more pride from us. It's a big game. They're coming into our territory, our city. I thought we would have had a little more juice than that. And then Blake Coleman says, not really in the business of moral victories at this point in the season. We keep giving ourselves these great opportunities to make a push and go on these runs, and we take 2 steps back. And it's getting down to where we can't have these setbacks. The fact that neither of these players wear a letter and are coming out and saying that, I think speaks to the media training, I guess, that Mikael Backlund has and why he is the captain, because he would never come out and say this. And that's frustrating because we know that he went toe-to-toe with Daryl Sutter. And now Blake Coleman, who has won a Stanley Cup, not once, but twice, is talking like this. So he knows what it takes. And Mackenzie Weegar, who has been playing a much better game this season since last year, coming out and saying this, and someone that has been very vocal, and I would have thought they were naming him captain over the summer, comes out and says this. And there's nothing. And it's really frustrating because even the players are like, when are we going to be better? What can we do? I understand that there is, of course, the level of, I have to be poised. I have to say the right things because I am representing the organization as a captain, but it comes down to accountability. And again, that was something that was missing last season, and it looks like it's missing again. So thank you, Mackenzie Weegar and Blake Coleman, for being confident enough to go on the record and say this stuff, because I'm sure a lot worse is said in the room. I am tired of asking the age-old question, is this going to be the week the Flames turn the corner? No, it's not, because they can't do it. We're going to talk more about what might set them up for success coming up here next on Locked On Flames. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on this episode of Locked On Flames. It has been quite the journey here this season. I feel like we have all continued to grow together as the Flames just continue to do Flames things. So now that we're past the halfway mark, we know what this team is. We know. Mediocre and a fringe playoff team at best. But I do have some good news. Very good news. To hopefully brighten up your day and, inject some positivity into your feelings about this team. Oliver Kylington is set to practice with the Flames later today. This is the first time he is taking part in NHL team activities since May 2022. So since the Flames got knocked out of the playoffs. That is a very long time. There is no rush into getting him back into the game, and they're taking things at his pace. And that's this is a very delicate situation. For those of you who might not know, he took a leave of absence due to his mental health and to kind of battle those demons and work through his issues that he was having. And he's been honest about that. He did an interview over in Sweden this summer and was like, I didn't know it could get that dark. And when it gets that dark and you feel super alone, it's hard. And so to see him back with the team is incredible. He played in a game with the Wranglers and he's available. And at the start of the season, he was ready to go and unfortunately had a setback and that delayed things. That's okay. The Flames have handled this so well, I would say, since the start of this. It has been very private and it hasn't been broadcasted. Oliver Kylington has just been out. He is on LTIR because he is dealing with mental health issues. Like, he's taking care of his mental health. It hasn't been kind of weaponized, I guess. I don't know. I feel like hockey is very much behind on the 8 ball in terms of breaking the stigma and things, which we're going to talk more about later. I hope that the way the Flames handled this situation is kind of a blueprint for other teams in future situations, because they've played their cards close to their chest and have respected the player and his needs, and that's more important. Oliver Kylington coming back is great. He was a really key role in the Flames' success that season when they probably should have, beat the Oilers in that series. And there isn't like this rush to be like, okay, like this team stinks. Like, we need to get him back. We need to get him back. There isn't any of that because they recognize the importance of his health. And that's great to see. And I hope that things keep progressing forward for him. And if he does get back in the lineup this season, fantastic. I very much look forward to it. Speaking of players returning to the Flames, Jacob Markstrom is back and he is ready to go. This is, again, one of those situations where I'm very glad to have him back, because what on earth? This team is so much better in front of Markstrom. Kind of like play a looser game in front of your best goaltender, and you kind of like better defensively in front of your backup, I guess I should say, because you know that they kind of need that extra assistance. But no, it's the opposite here, because here with the Calgary Flames, we do things opposite. It's always opposite day here. And Jacob Markstrom started off the season on a tough foot. I mean, he was playing better, but it was still like below average goaltending, where it was kind of like, crap, we got to watch this again. It's another year of this. Where is Dustin Wolf? Still in the AHL. And they couldn't trade Vladar. No one wanted a backup goaltender, especially with his numbers, the way his season started and is kind of still going. But he broke his finger at the start of December and missed a few weeks, and was lights out. He was playing Vezina candidate caliber hockey. I believe he had a .925 save percentage between the time he came back and his most recent injury. So it's been good. He's stolen games consistently for this team, and that's great and all, but we have seen what happens when you ride this goaltender into the ground. What are you setting him up for in the long run, especially if you don't plan on doing anything at the deadline with Dan Vladar. So I'm excited to have him back. It's very reassuring, I guess, if you're still on the hopes of making a wild card spot. I don't know how realistic that is, just because this is, again, it's Calgary Flames. Nothing is ever easy. And just like these next 3 games, they are playing the second half of this 6-game homestand against the Blues, the Blue Jackets, and Chicago. These are all 3 teams that they should beat. These are teams that they are better than. I could see St. Louis kind of going toe-to-toe with them, but You should blow the doors off of Columbus. You should humiliate the Chicago Blackhawks because that is an AHL team. We haven't seen that consistently from this team. They love losing to bad teams, and that's what really finds a good team from a bad team. And you're probably like, well, it's just a game. Like, people have bad games. When you are losing 4 in a row to the Chicago Blackhawks, especially of last season and now once already this season, you're not a good team. That is not how a good team plays. I want to see some sort of energy. I hope that those quotes from Weegar and Coleman woke this team up. I don't know. I don't know if anything is going to wake this team up, but they need to do something. And again, they can't keep affording to slip back. They're going to run out of hockey. There's not enough hockey left to keep playing like this. So it's up to them. And great to have Markstrom back. Great to have Kylington back on with the team, integrating himself into this, I would say, much more positive locker room culture than last year that he thankfully did not have to be a part of. But great to see, and I hope we do get to see him. It'd be nice. Coming up next, we are going to talk about the news from Dillon Dube and, how we move forward in terms of the game and finding who might be a good solid fourth line, either placeholder or replacement. And we will do that right after this break. The NFL regular season is over, but there is still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That is $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is super easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet. You can find live same game parlays, find bets in the new Explore tab, and make a parlay in the Parlay Hub to find the best popular parlays. And one of my favorite things about FanDuel is that it's super easy to use. The user interface is great, and you can cash out instantly. So when it's all said and done, it's done. And you can get in on the action today. All you have to do is visit fanduel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. Thanks, everyone, for tuning into today's episode of Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you're getting your podcasts and on YouTube as well. We're here for you 5 days a week. Yesterday, it was announced that Dillon Dube has been granted an indefinite leave of absence due to mental health reasons. He is taking time away from his team to tend to his mental health. And the team let the public know that he is working with professionals and doctors, and they request his privacy. Just respect his privacy at this time. Yes, first and foremost, nothing but support, love, and well wishes to Dillon Dube as he goes through this. Talked about it a lot with Oliver Kylington over the last year and a half. Mental health is just as important as your physical health. They all tie together. I hope that he is able to find what he needs quickly so he can start feeling better. I don't care if he touches the ice again. That doesn't matter. That has nothing to do with his play this season either. It is about him being in feeling better. And going off of that, it's really not the time to speculate. I think it's incredibly inappropriate to kind of make this some sort of tabloid situation and be like, well, does it have to do with this? What are we doing here? Is it because Huska benched him and he's not getting enough ice time and he's just being a little diva? Like, none of that is appropriate. This is a personal health matter, and the Flames clearly have a plan in place to make this, as seamless as possible for the player. Because at the end of the day, hockey is a business, but the Flames do right by their staff. And we've seen that time and time again with, Chris Snow and obviously Oliver Kylington and now Dillon Dube. I wish nothing but the best for him. This is not something that I want to sit here and pull apart and say it has a correlation to this, it ties back to this, and it's been a hard season for him regardless. So let's leave it at that. And while he is taking care of himself, the Flames have to continue playing. And one thing that means is finding a fourth line replacement. And I think that placeholder or replacement, whatever the case may be. I think for right now that's going to be Adam Klapka because they do have him recalled still, and Matthew Coronado is up. I wonder if with Pospisil out, how long that kind of lasts, and if this is something that plays into Jacob Pelletier's return. But the issue with Coronado and Pelletier is that they are not fourth line players. So it might be a good time to just integrate Klapka into your lineup. This is good in terms of seeing younger guys break the lineup. You never want it to be at the expense of another player. Same way they found a solution for Oliver Kylington second and third pairing. Like, they're going to have to do that here too. And they can. So I would love to see Adam Klapka get more reps. I think that he is a big dude. When I first saw him play, I thought he was a defenseman. I was like, there's no way that man is a forward. He is big. Like, he is a Dano Chara big. And no, he is just zooming his way through as a forward. And he almost quit hockey 2 years ago because he was like, I don't know if this is, the thing for me anymore. And it's always nice to see people that put in that work get rewarded. And I hope that things work out for him well in Calgary. I hope that he's only played one game, but I hope that he finds his stride and, really works well with AJ Greer, and I would assume it's just going to be Ruzicka. We'll see. There's rumors of Kevin Rooney actually coming back. So he was placed on waivers, so he might just start in the AHL and maybe get recalled at some point. It's still too far out to see that, and we haven't really had much of an update on Pelletier. So again, like, there is so much speculation that goes into that aspect of it, and that's where we should put our focus. That's where it should be. And I hope that everyone that does have something to say about Dillon Dube is respectful. I know that I have been critical of his play this season, and it's never coming from never malicious. It's always constructive as possible. And that's why we did a deep dive on Dillon Dube, because I was really interested to see what his underlying numbers are, what makes Dillon Dube Dillon Dube. And I hope that everyone is nice. I hope that everyone has a good week. There will be a list of mental health resources for Canada and the US in the description box, as well as the podcast notes. So stay warm, stay safe, stay hydrated, put on some chapstick, throw on your moisturizer, and I will see you all tomorrow back here on Locked On Flames.